you know what we are studying today, everybody. We are studying today the organizational behavior. So first of block one is introduction to OB. You can see the screen, everybody.
Yes, you can see it, ma'am.
Okay. So can anybody tell what is organization behavior? Anytime you heard this, do you know what you already know what is organization, I suppose. You all work in organizations. So, Ajay, also tell me whether you want me to tell everything or you will be interactive. So I can know ki I have to just keep on changing slides. You want to be interactive?
Yes, ma'am.
So please, it is good if you would be interactive because then I would know whether you understand things or not. You know about the organization you all are already working. है ना? What is organization according to you?
Organization is a social group or group of people who work together
Yeah,
with organized rule structures for a particular purpose.
yes, very good. So you already know this, I am sure, because yes, answered. So in the slide, you can see just to understand who knows about the organization, who don't know. So organization is a collection of interacting and interrelated human and non-human resources. What are the non-human resources? Anybody? Non-human resources are generally the tools, the desk, the computers, which are not living, non-living things actually. So organization is a collection of interacting and interrelated human and non-human resources working towards a common goal or a set of goal within the framework of structured relationship. What he has said about the organization is correct. What is behavior then? You already know. It is not behavior of the organization, but we study about the behavior of the people working in the organization and to achieve the common goal or objective. So summing this up, the third point says that organization behavior is concerned with all aspects means how the organization influences the behavior of individuals and also how in turn individuals in turn influence the organization. It is both ways, it is not one way. So both the things you have to see while we study the organization behavior. So it is also about a study of what people think, feel, and do in and around the organization. You are already working in the organization, so I know, I think you know about it. So this organization behavior facilitates the process of explaining, understanding, predicting, maintaining the relationship, changing the employee's behavior in the organization. Explaining, you already know ki, the process of explaining means how we, when a person enters the organization, we tell him or her about how the organization works. We make him aware about the organization, how what is the DNA of the organization, how it actually works. Then we make him understand how to do his job. We also predict, or we also predict like what he can do for us, why we have recruited him, why we have selected him. And then we try to maintain the decorum, like as a personal goal, what he likes the person and what the organization is focusing at. So we have to maintain the balance between the personal goal and the organizational goal. And then we, if the employee is not behaving according to the organization requirement, then we change the employee's behavior according to organization setting through trainings and making him aware what he's doing right, what he's doing wrong. So concept of organizational behavior is also concerned with people as organizations. There are three things you have to see here: people as organizations, people as resources, and people as people. Do you understand these three concepts? What people do in organization, how the people are using the resources, and how people are behaving with other people. Is this three things clear? Are these three things clear?
Yes,
So,
ma'am.
okay. So, employment, generally, we are talking about employment related things, situations like situation at jobs. What are the situations at jobs? How the work has been done. You know, all these terms like absentees. You know about absentees in HR? What is it?
Come again, ma'am.
Absenteeism. You can see the last line: employment related situations like jobs, work. Absenteeism, what is it? Anybody? No? In HR, absentees means a very important word. That means the people don't come to the job. They stay at home, and they are marked absent because of it. They don't want to do work, so they take more leaves. So they it is called absenteeism. They take leave intentionally, so it is called absenteeism. So we in an organization also calculate what is the absenteeism of a person in a month. So we come to know ki how much leave he has taken. You know about employment turnover? Anybody? It is not the turnover of the like business. It is like employment turnover means the people in the organization leave the job. When more people in the organization leave the job, then the turnover of your employment is very high. You have to recruit again and again, select people again and again. So it is called employment turnover. You know about productivity? What is
Yes, ma'am.
productivity? Is it
It means
clear
the.
what is absenteeism and employment turnover?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So what is productivity? Tell me.
It is the quality of being productive.
It is the
It means the effectiveness of the of productive effort.
No, productivity is there is a standard. For example, we have to make 100 units today. Okay, so productivity is if the employee or the staff makes 95 products, so you can say there is a 95% productivity out of 100. So that is productivity. If they make 60 products only, then you can say the productivity is low. It is only 60% because they are making 60 products out of 100. Can you understand that? Employee productivity?
Come again, ma'am.
Productivity of making a product. Okay. It can be done in services also. If you have to call 100% 100 clients today and you are able to call only 20 clients, so productivity is only 20%. Can you understand that?
Yes, ma'am.
Everybody, Hannah? So that is productivity. So next is like, what is the next point is which is written is human performance and management. You know, okay, every company manages the performance. So like they have a performance appraisal system. What, for example, you have to do five things in 3 months, and you are only able to to do the four things, then your productivity is 4 out of 5. Is it clear? So performance is managed by the organization. This we are studying because we have to see about the people who are working in the organization. So we are studying this. So now let me take you to the actual concept of organizational behavior. So it has been actually, we can see the next slide now. 1 minute. See this. So, organizational behavior is generally an applied behavioral science that is built on contribution from a number of behavioral disciplines, such as you can see on the screen: psychology, sociology, social psychology, anthropology, and economics. So, what is psychology? It is written on the screen. You can clearly see that. Psychology is generally study of human behavior and which tries to identify the characteristics of individuals, and also it provides an understanding why an individual behaves in a particular way. So organizational behavior, in organizational behavior we are studying the behavior of people. So psychology is an important field. So generally psychology have learning theory, personality traits. What are personality traits? Then we have counseling psychologists in the organization. So this psychology is one of the discipline from where organizational behavior has come. What is sociology? Anybody? You have heard about it? So
Yes,
sociology
yes,
is the, you have heard? Can you tell me
yes.
what is sociology?
Classification of
It is generally the
societies.
study of social behavior actually. It is the relationship among social groups and societies, and how you maintain the social order in the society. And the main focus of attention in this is sociology is social system. Okay, so everybody in every country, in every community, there is a social system. So that is about sociology. What is social psychology? Anybody? It is a mix of, you can see the word social and psychology. So the study of human behavior, which have certain context to social situations. Like it addresses the problem of understanding the typical behavioral patterns which is expected from the individual when he takes part in a group. So, when you are in a group, then everyone behaves in a different way. Some are very quiet, some are very like very talkative, some are only listening, some are only smiling. So, how you behave in a group generally, it social psychology talks about. Okay, and it also affects your social psychology. Actually. Helps you to understand how the behavior changes according to the uh, change in attitude, change in pattern, and how we measure that. Generally, it is a concept of organizational behavior, so we have to know about these things. So, anthropology is another thing. It is like the science of mankind and the study of human behavior as a whole. So, the main focus here is on the cultural system, the beliefs, the customs, the ideas, and the values within a group or the society. And we compare all these things with the behavior among different cultures, among different countries. So, this is called anthropology. It is clear to everyone what is anthropology?
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yes. Everybody be interactive because it is good to know ki you understand all this. And also you can ask questions if you want to. So what is political science? Anybody? So if not, I'll tell you politics, is related to power. So it is generally related to mainly concerned with the power dynamics between the individual and the groups with specific concerns. So important topics under the political science, which is related to organizational behavior, is structuring of conflict, the allocation of power, and how people manipulate power for individual and self interest. So we that is why it is part of political science. Economics, everybody knows, any organization to survive and sustain must be aware of the economic viability of their efforts. So this applies to even non-profit and voluntary organization. Is it clear about the nature of organizational behavior, like from which interdisciplinary applied sciences this came from? Is it clear, this slide? This you have to explain when the question comes, like what are the behavioral disciplines uh, organizational behavior is made of. So these all things you have to explain in that question. Okay. Now let's go to the definition. Is it clear? Like anybody can read this definition. I don't have to read it. Anyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, please.
Definition of OB according to Robbins, organizational behavior is a field of management that is primarily concerned with understanding, predicting, and influencing human behavior in organization.
Okay, you must know one or two definition when the question comes. So second,
According to Joe Kelly, organizational behavior is concerned with the study of behavior and attitudes of man in an organization setting. The organization's effect on his perceptions, feelings, and action, and his effect on the organization, particularly on his behavior effects for the achievement of the organization's purposes.
anything you cannot understand in this, I think it is very clear what we have like discussed previously, and these are the definitions. Clear, everybody, on the definition part. Okay. Now let's move to evolution of organizational behavior. So, before we actually study what are the theories and what all have changed from in last 200 years. So, first of all, I would like to tell you that there are three individuals who played important role in influencing the discipline of organizational behavior. First is Adam Smith, second is Charles Babbage, and third is Robert Owen. What did this person Adam Smith do? Let us see. So Adam Smith actually he helped us in defining two things: division of labor and work specializations. So he divided different task organization and told them ki how the division of labor can help them increase the productivity. So by increasing, he told that by increasing each worker's skill and dexterity by saving time. What is dexterity? Skill to you know. We can increase the skill of a person. What is dexterity? I'll tell you, when you make a product, then your hands should work in a certain, or your physical movement should be in such a way that it don't hurt you and the product is made in the right form and of the right quality. So training is given to these people so that they know how, for example, we are making a carton box, so we should know where to fold it and how much measure is taken to fold it. So this, if we teach the labor all these things before getting them into production, then it will save the time and also improve the productivity. So, according to Adam Smith, division of labor is very important, and this helped the organization in uh, maintaining the time loss and creation of labor saving interventions and machinery. This means that when we make, for example, we make one product in 5 minutes, okay? So if a new person or a fresher is put in the system or to make this product, he may take 15 minutes to understand where to fold the packet and from where the things has to be taken, which machinery has to be used, and what all things have to be assembled where, how much distance has to be kept from the machinery. All these things, if the person is trained, then he can make the same product in 5 minutes. But a new person will not be able to make the same product in 5 minutes because he do not know how to do it. So if we train them and if we help them to understand how the work is done, then we can actually make the product faster. So similarly, Charles Babbage says he added certain merits that accrue from division of labor. He said it reduces the time needed for learning a job, and he also said that waste of material during the learning stage is reduced. What I was telling, that fresher will create more waste than the person who has already learned to make a box. So if you are new to the production line, then a new person will create more waste. So he says that division of labor actually reduce the waste of material during the learning stage. Charles Babbage also said that it allows for the attainment of high skill levels. That means practice makes man perfect. So if we do the work again and again, our skills level will increase. He also says that it allows a more careful matching of people's skills and physical abilities with specific tasks. For example, if I'm working for making this package again and again, my subconscious mind will take in as like we drive. So when we drive a motorbike or when we drive a car, what happens? Starting may we feel very like how to drive, we are actually trying to learn, but as we go through the time, our subconscious take that learning, and after that we don't have to like seek when we have to increase the speed, when we have to change the gear, it automatically happens. So when we actually go through division of labor and make people understand what they have to do, so then people's skills and physical abilities increases. Charles Babbage also proposed that the economies from specialization should be as important as doing mental work with reference to physical labor. What is economies from specialization? Actually, this means he proposed that it is good, like for example a doctor. Previously we don't have a specialization, now we have a specialization for HR, MBA, we have a specialization for HR, we have marketing, we have even uh, finance, then you have operations. Why we divided the one organization thing into various specializations? Because he said, Charles Babbage, if you specialize in one specialization, then your skill and physical ability will increase with specific tasks. Previously, we have one doctor who treats everything. है ना? So now we have a specialized doctors for gynecology, specialized doctor for orthopedics, specialized doctor for maybe only they have this heart, brain, neurologist, and all. So he was trying to say at that time, 100 years back, was कि you should specialize in particular tasks. Clear? Third person is Robert Owen. So, what did he say? He played a very important role in the history of organization behavior, and 100 years back in 1825, he propagated that about the how to work in the factories actually. So he was the first industrialist to recognize how the practices adopted in the factories are demeaning to workers. Demeaning means not suitable for workers. So, he was the first person who talked about employing young children we should not employ young children below the age of 10 or 13 years. He also talked about how much hour of work day should be. He also talked about the unhygienic working condition in the factories in the year 1825. So he was mainly a reformer, and he said investment of employee on employees is necessary for profitability and productivity increase. And if the employer actually thinks about making a profit, he should help these workers to come out of this misery. So he worked on regulated house of work, child labor laws, public education, then providing meals to workers, and also business involvement in community projects in the year 1825. So this was the actually three people who you have to actually understand what they tried to do. Now, let us move to the behavioral science in management. There were many people who talked about the behavioral science in management, and there has been a evolution of the behavioral science from zero to what we are today. So, let us look at this chart. Okay, so there was first you see there these are the characteristics like basic assumption about the human nature. Then there will be approach to analyzing the human behavior, and in the next slide we'll see about the predominant values sought by these people, then primary beneficiary of prescriptions and appeal to modern management. These are the two slides we have to see. And the people who will be we will see is Machiavelli, then English philosophers, what they say. Weber is also one of the person who wants to who tells about the moralistic assumptions. Then there is a Taylor, Mayo, and the modern behavioral science. This is all about the evolution of the behavioral science and management. So, in looking at the table, we see a variety of interesting trends. For example, Machiavellian saw humanity as the as basically evil. Okay, so but it was capable of being manipulated towards the desire ends of ruler. Similarly, the English philosophers adopted essentially the same view but placed more emphasis on the interest of the state or the organization and less emphasis on the personal aspiration of the individuals in power. So you can see, you can read it. Machiavellian, what he says is human nature is basically evil and subordinate to the demands of the ruler and the state. Ruler means the people, and the state means the organization. The English philosopher says that human nature basically requires strong state if inherent desires are to be kept within boundaries. So he places more emphasis on the interest of the organization. What did Weber says? The Weber actually says the human beings are primarily irrational and subject to emotion, which makes for suboptimum decisions. So Weber avoided moralistic assumptions about the inherent good or evil of human nature and chose to view people as irrational and emotional. What did Taylor says? So Taylor looked upon human beings as lazy and motivated by self-interest. So fundamentally, he feels lazy. The human beings are lazy and must be carefully controlled to avoid waste. So, reasoning from any of these premises, one comes to the conclusion that control of human behavior is actually necessary and evidenced by the concern for authority in early administrative and political thought. You must not, what I mean is, that Mayo says human beings are social creatures desiring association with others. The tendency is towards cooperation, not competition and conflict. So, I want to say here is the one, two, three, and four. The Machiavellian English philosophers Weber and Taylor, they actually feel कि uh, human behavior has to be controlled. ठीक है. So they actually these four first four authors actually feel कि we have to create a authority which is administrative, so that we can make people work. But what did Mayo and modern behavioral scientists says? With Mayo and the Hawthorne studies, however, uh, we they talk about the cooperative social human being. So the emphasis is moved from the control philosophy to the uh, cooperation from social human beings. So behavioral scientists generally assume that human beings are neither good nor evil. So for this reason, there has been more emphasis placed on describing the behavior as it exists under different conditions. So, what approach we should take to analyze human behavior is again, you can see the second point. So, historically, Machiavellian English philosophers Weber and Taylor actually they say कि uh, it is Machiavellian generally say that it is. You can read कि it is relied on historical analogy and observation. So I don't feel he actually wanted to anybody to actually behave in their own manner. He wanted to take control of the situation. So the approach was that English philosopher advocated inductive logic, and Weber also approached the subject deductively, not like what is written here is deductive, a rational approach that logical and deductive began with well founded premises and progressed in conclusions. So, I think you should take this table. You can click your mobile and take this table. So, because reading this and writing this is easy rather than you if you read in the block one book what has been given to you. So, these two slides you should take a photo from your mobile if you have. It would be good. So, I'll have you are you already taking photograph? So you should take because you'll not find it anywhere. I have taken from somewhere else.
Yes, ma'am.
So okay. So because it is written in a very long way in your block one book, so it is this is easy to remember rather. This is the first slide and this is the second slide. Let me finish this. You take the photo. I'll go to the next slide. Okay. So in this slide, when we talk about the approach of Weber, the subject is deductivity. Deductively is already written here. Taylor was extremely experimental and scientific, while Mayo mixed experiments with philosophy, and behavioral scientists today are almost completely experimental in their orientation. This is the comparison you can always write. Next slide is about the predominant value sort. So Machiavellian sought a practical theory of power, while the philosophers sought order actually. So order and the means to achieve functional government. Weber's quest was for rationality, and the Taylor championed about the justice in and a fair day's work for a fair day's pay. So today's Mayo's perception was with the mental and emotional health of workers, while today's behavioral scientists are concerned primarily with understanding of behavior for its own sake. So primary beneficiary of prescriptions, when we talk about that, so it says generally Machiavellian says that the ruler or the politician, what is written means the person in power or the aspiring to be in power would be the benefactor. So while the society with a stable system of government would benefit from the guideline proposed by the English philosophers. So the society through viable government is with the English philosophers. Weber's is mostly related to bureaucracy and was designed to generally add rationality and to decision making rather. So both managers and workers conceivably could benefit from the system proposed by Taylor and Mayo. So they say managers uh, of or organizations and workers through increased pay. This is called by Taylor, and management and workers through increased satisfaction and mental health. So they both allow benefits to be derived, benefits to be given to the workers. Modern science generally served best by the actions of contemporary behavioral scientists. They talk about workers and managers through the application of scientific knowledge. So finally, appeal to modern management according to Machiavelli, is objective, practical objective approach to reality, and it constitutes an appeal. The philosophers are appealing because of their idea of order. Weber and Taylor find support from business people because their ideas contain a promise of rationality and economic efficiency. So Mayo is attractive because he enhances our image as unique beings and unlike all others. And behavioral science today is compelling because of its objectivity and systematic structure. So whatever I am telling you is from this slide only. So if the question comes, so evolution of the behavioral science in management, these two slides will help you to write the answer. Clear? Evolution. Okay, everyone. So now let's move to the concept. Okay.
Ma'am, excuse me, are you going to share the slide? If you don't find them in the notebook, then are you going to share
No,
them?
this is not in the logbook. That is what I'm telling you.
Yes,
So
I'm saying if
you will need a presentation then. Why don't you take a photo from the mobile phone?
I am, but it's not very clear. I don't know about others.
I'll share it then. Okay.
I'll appreciate. Thank you.
Yeah. So let us go to the concept of organizational behavior. You must be reading about micro organizational behavior and macro organizational behavior. So, micro organizational behavior means the behavior and the nature of people within the organization, and macro means the behavior and nature of organization within their social, cultural, and political and economic environment, and that is outside the organization. So, micro means inside, and macro means outside. So, when we study the behavior and nature of people from inside, it is called micro organizational behavior. And when we study the behavior and nature of people and organization outside the organization, so it is called a macro organizational behavior. So, I just want to clear this what is micro and macro so you can know about it. So, organizational behavior studies behavior of people in the context of workplace where people are, the processes and the external and the environment in which they interact with each other. So there are three things: people, processes, and external environment. So there are many people who talk about how came from how we came from all this evolution to this micro and macro organizational behavior. So Parikh in 2007 gave process level from individual level to society level, and that we have to see. So this is what he gave as a, yeah, this is what he gave, Parikh gave us as a, like a tool in 2007. Read again. The process levels from individual level to society level, and this is what it is. So it is the he what he first he defined the levels, like the person existential process, the interperson empathetic process. One by one, all these processes we have to study, and we have two slides on this, and the process is already written in this. So he said the person existential process is what? He said it is a process of self-awareness of one's organizational and social reality as to how he or she is living and working in with others, or self-actualization and personal goals. Anybody know about the Maslow theory? No? So, actually, this process says कि first we have to take care of ourselves, then we have to take care of the organization, then we have to take care of the society, then we have to take care of our all personal goals, and then we reach the self-actualization. If you know the Maslow triangle model, it says कि first we see to ourselves, self awareness, food, shelter, and also the clothes are our primary requirements. So first person try to fulfill this, then they go to the security requirement, and then they move to the higher goals like esteem and self actualization. So the person existential process is actually how he behaves in the organization and how he makes his personal goals. You know that, for example, you are eating good food, you are satisfied, then you are earning well and eating food and having good clothes, but you don't have a house. You are living in a rental house. So what happens? Your personal goal is first now to purchase a house so that you can live conveniently and you don't have to move from one house to another for a rent. So our personal goals changes as we satisfy one of our desire or one of our goal. Once you purchase a house, then you move towards security. How should I secure my house, my family? How should I secure my uh, surroundings so that I can sleep peacefully? So then you go for the security things. Then you move forward. When you when you attain all these two things, then you move towards how should I make a position in the society? How should I be part of a group? So you start going to clubs, you start going to make friends in a social circle, you uh, make friends in a matlab, in a, maybe you can say you want to be making friends with the successful people so you can succeed in your life. So you want to make your self esteem to grow your self esteem to a certain level. When you attain that also, then you want ki, then you feel ki, yeah, I'm still not satisfied. So now you want self actualization. That means now I am satisfied with everything. I don't want anything but a peace of mind, happiness, and that is the actually people go into a stage of meditation and yoga. So the person existential process is according to Maslow's theory. So second thing, what this Parik said was the interperson empathetic process. This means this is a relationship building process between two entities for mutual benefits. So facilitators are generally they collaborate and cooperate. They actually also fight. They also have unhealthy competition, and they are sensitive, sometimes sensitive to others, sometimes not sensitive to others. So these all things they actually we study in the interperson empathetic process. And then the third level is the role of coping process. This is where the individual come in contact with others and the organization, and the role difficulty, the ambiguity, role conflicts arising out of role overlapping need to be coped. These are the actually the big topics which have to be studied uh, while we cope through this role coping process. So organization, that is why he said that organization should ensure role clarity. So when we say in an organization ki this work has to be done by Mahesh, and this work has to be done by Muhammad, and this work has to be done by Grace. So this means that everybody has should have their clear job description so that they don't go into the role difficulty or role overlapping or role conflicts. So this is what the third level says. Next level is the group building process. So first we've studied about the person existential process. That means at which level the person is. Then we move towards the interperson empathetic process. That means how one person is connected to another, or how one organization is connected to other. And the third is role coping process, which says about the role clarity. And the fourth is group building process. That means how many groups are there. You will study the group process in detail. We'll study this also. So there are functional and hierarchical formal groups in the organization. You must be also having in your organization, and these formal groups or informal groups has their own norms and traditions, which every group member has to follow. So these informal or formal groups helps in completion of certain project, and this team helps in completion of certain projects or the objectives in the organization. Next level is the intergroup collaborative process. That means uh, it is a collaboration between heterogeneous groups. For example, heterogeneous means you can say ki, there are mix of gender, culture, caste. Yeah, there can be many. All these groups come together to actually work. But there can be conflict and unhealthy competition, which can be in the groups. So to prevent these negative and effects, we actually have to collaborate and make each of this group member work together. So intergroup collaborative process is the next level. Then organization growth process. It is organization has it has its own entity. So what past has already gone actually is a case study for them. So if for example an organization has failed certain projects and they have find out because of four reasons we were not able to complete the project, they have an experience in it. So they have to change their strategy so that they can complete the similar project in the future. So organization being an entity learns from the past and change their strategy currently, and they can develop a better future, means they can complete the next project which comes in the line with them, which was similar to the previous which they have failed. So in this effort, organizations should integrate individual interests with that of the group and organizational goals to complete the project. Self renewal on a continuous basis is imperative, means ki uh, not only the group has to change, organization has to change, but every individual has to be trained again and again so that the organizational and group goals are met with individual interests. This means, for example, ki I want to get promoted to the manager level or general manager level. So I should develop a quality when I'm moving from manager to general manager level. So what individual interest is? Individual interest is ki I should learn the qualities or learn the job what the GM is doing. So for that, we have to actually train the manager for so that he can climb the ladder from manager to general manager level. If we don't do this, the group goals will be affected and the organizational goals will be also affected. So self renewal is a continuous process. So the next level is the organization environment interface influence process, which says key organizations are influenced by social, political, and economic changes defining its environment. So these all are external factors which affect the organization while the organization is actually working. So these three factors actually provide the resources. These are said the resources. So we as an organization are dependent on social, political, and economic changes to run our organization. For example, we have to actually, for example, a policy of exporting has changed in the government, central government. So what will happen if we are a textile industry? What will happen? कि textile में they say कि you cannot, for example, they say कि you cannot export cotton from now, from 1st October 2023. So what will happen to your company? So your company will have to change the way you work. So we are totally dependent on these three factors for our resources. Now we cannot export cotton. So what will happen is we have to find the domestic buyers only if we are exporting previously. If we can't, if the policy has changed, we cannot import certain things. For example, we cannot import cotton and there is a shortage of cotton in your country or in your area, then what you will do? You have to find different buyers now. So everything changes. Your political system changes, social changes, economic changes, your working internally changes. So you have to actually work according to the external environment. So the organization should proactively visualize the environmental changes and should create strategies differently or independently in coalition with the organization so that the positive things can be created in the organization and negative pressures are reduced. So we have to be always in an organization in a firefighting mode so that our organization is sustainable and not damaged. Next level is the community process of social awareness. So organization as has to also look after the community. That means community interface is based on mutual social awareness of both. For example, in every organization, there are workers who are actually coming from nearby areas, uh, who resides near the actually uh, the manufacturing unit or the office, you can say. So when we talk about a community who is living nearby and who is also a person who is working in our organization, then we have to think about their development also. How do we think about a community development? There is actually a direct pressure created uh, by the government, uh, so that you can help this community to grow. So so the your organization actually impacts this community because you are providing them salary as or wages. You have to also think about how you can use the corporate social responsibility, and you can become an interface for their development. How you develop these people, these community, by creating schools in their community, by creating hospital, health clinics. Then you can also provide, for example, the male person is working in your organization, so you can provide uh, the wife who is at home. You can provide them certain cooperatives who can do some handwork, hand items, who can make hand items and sell in the market. So these are few things you can help the community. Then you can also, like, for example, they have an agricultural land, so you can help them to make tie-ups with the buyers and all. So matlab, these things are the community development projects the organization take to help the community. So in India, we have a law now, the CSR law, where every industry has to contribute at least 2% of their net profits uh, in 3 years towards CSR activity. It is compulsory, and the policy has been made so that every community can, the community nearby can develop. But you can also take a income tax benefit out of it. The last process is the society value process, and actually it is the ability to influence various forces in the society uh, so that the greater good can fall in for the society. But the power, is not always positively exercised. Many negative powers also come into play when we start doing good things. So, good and evil both are actually working together. It depends on the organization and the values of the organization, uh, who will actually want this positive power to actually play a major role than negative powers. So, social processes are actually derived from the values of both individuals, society, and organization. So the synergy has to be so much integrated कि negative values do not succeed, and these social processes actually help in the growth of the community itself. So this is the actually the Parekh has given. Let's go back. Parekh in 2000 gave this process levels for individual and macro levels. Another thing is, organizational behavior process need to be understood in the social historical perspective of a country also. And I have created a glimpse of Indian history and the important social, political, and economic events which characterizes the people and society in India. So let us see that also. What we have done from pre-Muslim period to the post globalization scenario. So generally, it is a this discuss about the major events and general perspective of social processes. So, in the pre-Muslim period, the philosophical, intellectual, and spiritual pursuits were more flourished at the cost of military capabilities due to fragmented kingdoms. So I don't have to explain this because this is self-explanatory. If somebody can read, I would take a break for a while, 5 minutes. Can anybody read it? It doesn't require any explanation. It is self-explanatory. Anyone there?
Helma, the font is small, so small that I can't read it.
You cannot? Okay. I'll
Yeah,
make
the font is so
it
small.
big. Now you can read. You cannot read now also.
No, I don't know about my friends, but I can't.
Okay. Somebody else? No, I'll read. Okay. So Muslim period, I think there was more of invasion with twin purposes of plundering wealth and forced propagation of Islam, which was possible due to the moderate secular philosophical base and weak military powers. So Muslim period was they want to actually create more wealth. So Indian social process was actually uh, not so much strong. So initial British colonial period, when we talk about Indian social processes, then it was more of expansion of Christianity, imperialism, and ultimate subjugation of passive, subdued, and non-vibrant people. That means it was they just want to convert people to Christianity. So scientific temperament, infrastructure, new institution, and social reforms emerged during those period due to expanding use of English language among native allied groups. Later British colonial period, anti-colonial movement led by native and British educated Indian leaders supported by political activated and socially aroused people and emergence of indigenous business families. So in that time it was mostly the British people who made colonies and Indian leaders supported by the politically active people. So it was generally a social process was changing from very town and village concept to a new things being coming in the society. So initial post independence period in India was there was heavy industrialization under public sector and they require trained and educated human resources to work in the industry. And there was a consequent growth of education in English British ways. There was a unionization, there was an increased union militancy. There was many problems also during that time. The period of social upheaval and political movement was generally when privatization of banks were done in India and there was poor performance of public sector the because the industries they expanded but they don't have a trained manpower. There were a lot of protests under uh, many movements and there were national emergencies and there were many weak links like there were trade unions who were weakening the progress of the country. Then the post emergency period was actually the resurrection of the democracy and with lot of new political changes and political maturity of people. There were many human rights and NGOs who were working for unions and who were giving new voice to people and poor economic performance due to There was poor economic performance of India due to political instability. But the new economic policy has changed everything. The economic liberalization came in 1991 and it saved the country from various disasters arising out of low foreign exchange reserves and then leading to balance of payment problem, etc. So there was like after new economic policy, there was a structural adjustment leading to rationalization of manpower, public sector disinvestments, and privatization of the market actually help Indian economy to rise because many MNC players can come in the country now. So post globalization scenario has been a little still not so stable. It is a jobless economic growth due to economic and labor reforms. There was inflation, low purchasing power, and entrepreneurship was not so much helped previously, but now the entrepreneurship grows in informal and startup sectors due to the technical exposure of large section of human resource, and there is many resourcefulness and competencies have been increased with growing competition, and demand and supply is now low and there is a high quality manpower. So this has been a trend in India from pre-Muslim stage to post-globalization stage. Clear? This is all about evolution actually. Okay? And concept of organizational behavior. Let's move to our last topic. I think for block one, if you study this would be enough. Let's move to one more thing I want to say about organization is there are three things: people, structure, and technology, which is a part of organization. So the whole, yeah, what we talk about people here is the full person, the whole person, which is combination of personal, psychological, emotional, spiritual, social, culture, economic, and political aspect of an individual, which need to be identified and addressed in the organization. We are not talking about an incomplete person, we are talking about the whole person. Okay? Next, we are talking about here is technology. So, in an organization, the machines, tools, the method of production, the technical know-how, the skills, which indicates the human power, actually it is composed of technology. So these are the technology components in the organization, which we call machine, tools, method of production, and technical know-how with skills of human resource. So ergonomics means man working environment adjustment. You have in an organization, we have to make the people actually work in an environment to provide him resources. If we don't provide the man the resources, the organization cannot succeed. So human engineering is man machine compatibility has to be brought in. Man working environment adjustment has to be brought in. So these all things come in technology. Okay, what is organization structure? We are also talking about structure here. People, we know whole people. Technology means the technology which is required, like the machine tools which is required, the structure, organization structure. What do you mean by that? It is created by the interface between people and technology. So organization structure is actually the authority or the subordinate structure which you see in the organization, which we called as hierarchy, and the functional specialization, the division of labor. That means the job descriptions, which function has to be done by done at which hierarchy, who is the person who can do this, and what is the mission, vision, goal, policies, and rules of the organization which that person has to follow. And these all things come in the organization structure. So organization, if there's a question about who all are the uh, part of the organization and the organizational behavior, we have to give this concept. Okay. So now there are four models of organizational behavior which we study in the uh, for this topic. So different organization, why we are studying this is because different organizations have different systems on which they develop and maintain to achieve the desired results. So the models actually focus on the managerial orientation and employees orientations, employee psychology and needs. So does the there are four types of models: autocratic, supportive, custodial, and collegial model. So what does autocratic model says? So autocratic model depends on actually the power. You can read the table, and here the commanding actions are taken by the manager and the employees, as the word says autocratic. And and employees are actually enforced to obey their orders. So autocratic means the commander will take all the decision and employees has to follow. So in an autocratic environment, the managerial orientation is a formal official authority, and the management leads to tight control of employees at work. This model is generally not liked by the employees, and the employee orientation is obedience to boss, not respect for manager. So the psychological result is dependence on the boss for every decisions, who have the power to fire and perspire them. So the boss pays minimum wages as the output of employees' performance is minimum. So this model is a useful way to accomplish work. Autocratic model was an acceptable approach to guide managerial behavior when there were no well-known alternatives, and it still can be useful under some conditions such as organizational crisis. When there is a crisis in the organization, autocratic model is actually followed. So the combination of emerging knowledge about the needs of employees and sorry, changing societal values suggested that there were better ways to manage organizational systems. So you can see the first below the autocratic, how the employees must, how the autocratic model is followed in the organization. Second is the custodial model. So in the autocratic model, power is used by the managers, which develop a feeling of frustration and aggression towards their boss or maybe family and social circle in which they belong. Thus, in this, the progressive managers felt that there must be some way to develop better employee relationship so that insecurity and frustration could be dispelled. So custodial model depends on the economic resources. If an organization does not have the wealth to provide pensions, pay, and other benefits, it cannot follow the custodial model. The managerial orientation in custodial model is towards money to pay wages and benefits. Since employees' physical needs are already reasonably met, the employer looks to security needs of employees to motivate them. The employee orientation is dependence on the organization rather than the boss, and the employees are satisfied and happy, but they are not strongly motivated, so they only give passive cooperation. The advantage of this model is that it brings security and satisfaction to workers, but the main disadvantage is that most employees are not producing anywhere near their capacity, nor they are motivated to grow to greater capacities of which they are capable of. Okay. So the third model is actually supportive model. So the supportive model had its origin in the principle of supportive relationship. So the supportive model depends upon leadership instead of authority. Through leadership, management provides a climate to help employees grow and accomplish in the interest of the organization the things of which they are capable of. The leader here assumes that the worker will take the responsibility, develop a drive to contribute, and improve themselves if management will give them a chance. So, management orientation in supportive model is to support the employees' job performance. Since the management supports employees in their work, the psychological result is a feeling of participation and task involvement in the organization. So, employees insist on we rather than they when referring to this organization. So this model, supportive model works well with both managers and employees and is widely accepted. The supportive model of organizational behavior tends to be effective generally in wealthy and prosperous nations because it responds to employee drive towards wide array of emerging needs. Still, in developing countries, this supportive model is not 100% functional because some or the other constraint is there. The fourth model is the collegial model, and the term collegial relates to a body of people working together cooperatively. Mutual, actually, it is a mutual contribution. So, this concept first achieved widespread application in research laboratories and similar work environments, but most recently it has been applied in a wide range of other situations also. So the basis of this model is partnership. Uh, the basis of this model, no, custodial model was partnership, providing job freedom to employees and intellectual environment to work. The managerial orientation in this model is towards teamwork and the response to this situation is actually more of responsibility. The management works as a coach that builds a better team, and the psychological result of the model for the employee is self discipline. And when an employee feels that he or she is responsible, automatically, I think discipline comes in and they perform. For example, a football team where each player has to play in coordination in order to perform better than the opponents. So they themselves try to improve or discipline themselves. So this is actually brings in a commitment to task and team. So these four models are important, and this is an important question for the exam also. Everybody is there or sleeping? Hello?
Listening, ma'am.
So you are able to understand what I'm telling everyone? Because
Yes,
the
we are
huh,
there with you.
okay, okay. So this human relation approach, what we are studying about the, we have studied about the scope and we have studied about the context or the concept. We have studied about the models of organizational behavior. Now, this approach to human relation, anybody here who have studied these experiment, Hawthorne experiment before? This is a common experiment which has been taught in, I think, entrepreneurship also, leadership also, behavioral science may you must have studied this, but I'll cover this because this is an important topic for the exam also. It always comes in the exam, what is Hawthorne experiment. So let us see through it. This experiment actually was conducted during 1924 and 1932 at the Hawthorne plant. It is easy to recall this because the name has come from that only. So it was done by Western Electric Company in Chicago, USA. And the experiment consists of four phases: the illumination experiment, the relay assembly test room experiment, the interviewing program, and the bank wiring observation room. So, what this experiment says: first, the illumination experiment. In this experiment, there are two group of workers. You have to hear this because I cannot make a slide out of it because it is general. So in this experiment, there are two group of workers. One is the control group and other is the test group. Okay, control group is the standard group, the normal working group, and the other is the test group where we'll do all the experiments. Okay. So these test group were exposed to different intensities of lights. Illumination means related to light. So you can always understand this. So the test group were exposed to different intensities of light. The former, the control group with normal illumination, and the test group with low to high illumination. So for the test group, we are changing the intensity of light from low to high. So the expectation from this test group was that higher the illumination, the higher the productivity. That means the more the light, more the illumination, there will be more productivity. But no such productivity increase was actually seen or observed and while doing this experiment. So it was generally concluded that there is no relationship between the physical conditions and the productivity. What happened was actually this the light was actually lowered also, है ना? The light, the intensity of light was reduced to from higher to low, and when the light decreased to 0.06 foot candle, then the performance in the experiment group declined as the workers in the group complained that they can hardly see anything, how we can do, how we can work. So it was concluded that intensity of light has no relationship with the physical condition and productivity. Second, relay assembly test room experiment was in the relay assembly test room. The work was very boring and repetitive. So uh, the and it involved assembling telephone relays by putting together a number of small parts. Okay. So 6 women workers were transformed from the normal department to a separate area, and the researchers selected 2 assemblers who were friends with each other, and they actually chose 3 other assemblers and a layout operator. That means there were 6 women workers, 2 assemblers were friends, 3 other assemblers, and a layout operator. How many people are there? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 people are there. 12, 13 people. So experiment was divided into 13 periods during which the workers were subjected to a series of planned and controlled changes to their conditions of work. What are the conditions of work? they changed was hours of work, rest pauses, and also the provision of refreshments. So the general environment condition of the test rooms were similar to those of the normal assembly line. Only thing changed was the conditions of work. So during the experiment, the observer adopted a very friendly manner, consulting the workers, listening to their complaints, and keeping them informed of the experiment. So, following all the changes, like from when operators complained that there were too many breaks they were given. So even the operator, the people who were in the experiment, they complained about that too many breaks made them lose their work rhythm. So there was a while making these changes, there was a continuous increase in the level of production. So the researcher found the conclusion that the extra attention given to the workers and the apparent interest in them shown by the management were the main reasons for the higher productivity. So this is actually known as Hawthorne effect in this experiment. When the management actually shows the interest in the workers, what they are doing, they give extra attention to the workers, and they actually ask them, "How are you?" So the productivity actually increases, and this is known as Hawthorne effect. So this experiment took place between 1927 and 1933, and generally they came out that productivity increased over the period of study, regardless of how the factors were manipulated. Though factors did not play any role, work factors, work conditions do not play any role in the productivity of the organization. The third is interviewing program. So the first two phases establish the importance of supervision as a factor determining the level of productivity. But to further understand this, the researchers conducted a large interviewing program in which 20,000 plus open-ended and also the non-directive interviews were conducted. What is open-ended? Open-ended means there are closed questions. How the closed questions are? If I ask you, uh, have you have you eaten your lunch? So you say yes or no. So we say this is a closed structure of questions. When we say about open-ended questions, it is mostly about you can answer anything. You what had what you had for lunch today. So you can tell anything, or maybe I'll ask you at what time you will have a lunch, and I give you multiple choices, five answers between 1 and 2, between 12 and 1, and all those things. These are open-ended questions. The non-directive interviews means, so the interview questions were open-ended and non-directive interviews. Non-directive means no direct questions were asked. It was indirect questions which were asked to the interviewee. So the workers were free to express their opinions on supervision, work conditions, and other related aspects because it was an open-ended questions. Researchers actually were able to deep dive into workers' feelings, needs, expectations from management, and attitudes, and they can also relate to the importance of listening to workers in an organization setting. So the interviewing program actually helped them to understand about the feelings of workers. So this was generally, this showed them key if if there is less supervision, the people express themselves more correctly than if they work under a very pressurized or supervising environment. Last the last experiment done by them is the bank wiring observation room. So in this experiment, this experiment was conducted in between I think 1931 and 32, and the motivation for this study was built on the findings of the second set. So, for this study, a group of 14 men who wired telephone banks was observed in a standard shop condition. So, an observer was actually stationed in the room with instruction to take continuous notes on the workers' action. So the observer was not allowed to give orders or get involved in the conversation with the workers. But the workers were initially very apprehensive about the observer. They settled into more natural and relaxed behavior after about 3 weeks because the supervisor was there, because the foreman for the work group or the also supervised other workers in another room, and because the observer was deliberately unobstructive, the workers were relatively free from constant supervision. So there was a supervisor, but he was also looking after other things. So this group actually came out of that apprehension in 3 weeks. So the workers were paid according to their output. The observer noted that the workers have established an informal daily norm of 6,600 units per person. What they want to say here is actually this experiment. The group developed its unique set of norms defining the right behavior for that group. So, despite a financial incentive scheme where the individual were offered more money for higher output, the group decided an optimum level of output suitable to all the members of the group. So if that means when the more productive people also were producing only 6,600 units per person, so all the men had paced their work so that they can reach this norm by the end of the day. Some of the men can do more, but they were also producing this much only. So this indicates that they would prefer to be more productive. They risk becoming victims of. They don't want to become. Matlab, this is a peer pressure actually. These people who can produce more does not want to risk becoming victims of harassment. They wanted to follow the group norms. The peer pressure had a higher impact on the workers than the financial incentives. So these are the actually four experiments conducted by Hawthorne. The evaluation, we should know evaluation of this human relation approach. So there was, okay, every theory which comes up with good and certain uh, not so good points. So the evaluation of human relation approach or the Hawthorne experiment says that there was no focus on environmental factors, and they lacked the scientific approach also. And there was a sex power differential. That means the relay assembly room was having female group, the bank wiring room has the male group. So the women were constantly mediated by the supervisor. So they were more influenced by the what supervisor expect from the test room experiment. So these are evaluation, and but importance is of Hawthorne experiment is still exist. So it has created fresh ideas on the importance of the teams and leadership within group communication. job design, motivation, and output constraints. It helps us to focus on human relation at work, and it gives us insight into human behavior at work and emergence of management thinking. So this experiment, whatever I've covered in this slide, actually has are the important things only, and whatever you will read in the text, I think you'll find in the presentation also. So this is all about what I can teach you with introduction to organizational behavior. So now if you have any questions, I can really answer that. So how you find it? You were able to understand what I'm actually saying?
Yes, ma'am.
So you have any questions? If you study this, introduction of organizational behavior is completed. Okay. So uh, you have any questions? Anybody? You are okay with my language? Like you can understand easily?
Yes, we can now. Where are you?
Okay. So everybody has given their attendance on chat. Kindly, if you have not, please give it. Okay. So we'll have a class tomorrow on block, I think 2. So can you inform everybody, or this is the right time or this is not the right time for you?
It's the right time, ma'am.
Okay. So we'll meet you tomorrow. I'll meet you tomorrow then at 9.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
ma'am.
Thank you.
Bye.